So, hello everyone. My name is Misang. I'm VP of Sales and Marketing at Confio, the key contributor of CosmWasm. And I'm very delighted to introduce you the CosmWasm, the very exciting aspect of Cosmos. So whether you are blockchain enthusiast or the complete newcomer, this talk will provide you with comprehensive understanding of CosmWasm, what it is, why it matters with its adoption and with its history. So let's see, let's dive in. So what is CosmWasm? So Cosmos is an ecosystem of a blockchain. It is designed with scalability from design, and it offers a modular architecture. So which means on Cosmos SDK offers different modules, modules for example, governance, modules for bank, modules for staking or slashing. So there are different type of modules. So as you can see here, you can make a figure out of these Lego blocks. You can build a chain with combining these modules. And CosmWasm is one of these modules for Cosmos SDK chain. And what is virtual machine, VM? Virtual machine is a virtual environment that has its own CPU, memories, network interface, acts like and functions on created on hardware. And Wasm, WebAssembly, is actually a very highly optimized VM with very little overhead. And Wasm is very strong and performant. It's a lot faster than JavaScript, and Rust is one of the major supporting languages. And CosmWasm, in short, is a smart contracting platform written as a module, can be plugged in to Cosmos SDK chain. So it's basically Cosmos' way of utilizing Wasm. So that's the name, CosmWasm. The next slide, please. So now let's see why CosmWasm matters. Because I personally think CosmWasm is basically Cosmos identity. Well, we'll see later, but there are other ecosystems, but they are more leaning to Ethereum virtual machine EVM. But CosmWasm is basically Cosmos. There are over 30 chains in Cosmos using CosmWasm, and 90% of new chains they have CosmWasm baked in from the beginning. And look, there are more 900,000 downloads of CosmWasm standard library. And why CosmWasm is so popular in Cosmos? That's because CosmWasm is built with the security first mindset. Because, you know, historically speaking, there have been a lot of billions of dollars hacking incidents in ecosystem of Ethereum, like DAO and parity multisig. And that's due to Solidity, Ethereum's smart contract language's structural defects, like reentrance issue. But CosmWasm prevents this kind of issue from the design, so it's eliminated, right? So that's why we didn't see that kind of hacking incidents in CosmWasm chains. And second of all, CosmWasm is very popular in Cosmos ecosystem because it is designed with the multi-chain by nature. IBC is integrated inside of CosmWasm from the very beginning. And that's why CosmWasm became the go-to smart contract platform in the Cosmos ecosystem. Next slide, please. So let's compare with some other options. So Solidity, which is an Ethereum smart contract language. Well, Ethereum has a huge dev community, and Ethereum has a dev tooling environment a lot more advanced than us. But, and I think that's because Solidity has syntax which is similar to JavaScript. And we have a lot of JavaScript developer out there, which makes the entry barrier relatively easy. So let's say I think we can say Solidity prioritized easiness. But CosmWasm, like I briefly touched, it's more prioritized the security. So that's one of our strengths. And the testing, like unit testing in Solidity is quite difficult. But CosmWasm offers multi-levels of testing, like including unit, integration, and full stack testing. And also CosmWasm can handle the high transaction throughput, which can process like hundreds of transactions per second. And since CosmWasm contracts can be deployed on multiple chains, we can share the loads and keep the cost low. And sorry, and the composability, we offer a similar type of like ability to compose your smart contract like Ethereum, but with better security support. And flexibility. In Ethereum, it's not possible to write a contract across chains or migrate a project from one chain to another. But CosmWasm is built on Cosmos SDK and IBC. It provides such power. Next, please. And let's look at Solana now. Solana was really, really fast. Their throughput was amazing. And actually, Solana was beyond EVM and CosmWasm. It got a really meaningful traction in DeFi. But Solana API is a super low level and really difficult to write contracts. Meanwhile, CosmWasm offers the optimized with large classes of simpler contracts, so it was easier. It's easier to write contracts with CosmWasm. Next, please. Polkadot, yes. So people used to compare a lot Polkadot with Cosmos in earlier days. And that's because there are some similarity. Like Polkadot also offers blockchain construction kit, parity substrate. And Ink is the Polkadot smart contract language that compiles to Wasm. And that supports pre-contract called Palette. And you can deploy any smart contract in Parachain. But since Palette is interface and virtual machine at the same time, testing contracts is quite difficult. And the execution semantic of VM is difficult to understand because it's hard-coded in Palette itself rather than abstracted library of its own. Meanwhile, CosmWasm is a VM and also a library, so this problem is solved. And also, by its design, CosmWasm is very highly customizable. So that's why projects like Composable Finance chose CosmWasm and building on Polkadot stack instead of using Ink. And so far, I didn't hear anything vice versa case in Cosmos. And there's also a smart contract specific chain called Astar on Polkadot stack. And they enable both EVM and Wasm, but recently they're focusing more on EVM. Next slide, please. So yeah, how about the comparison with Cosmos SDK? Cosmos SDK is a fantastic tool to start your own chain. But CosmWasm offers the similar performance and interface without the need to start your the standalone blockchain. Because actually building and maintaining a blockchain requires a lot of overhead, including attracting validators, etc. But with CosmWasm, you don't have to start from a chain. You can start to write a contract, and you can build on existing blockchain until it's necessary. You don't need to build a chain. And CosmWasm also simplifies the migration from one chain to another without the chain level coordination. And also, it also provides stable APIs, which means, we make sure your code remain compatible with future Cosmos SDK API changes so that you don't have to deal with every API changes of Cosmos SDK. And CosmWasm offers CW Storage Plus that provides type-safe database access and secondary indexes and snapshotting. An easy composition. So whenever there's a new module, integration comes up for SDK, it's a bit complicated. It's a bit more complex. But CosmWasm offers more straightforward function that you can upload and wire contracts more efficiently. Next page, please. So yeah, now let's look at the history of 4 years of CosmWasm journey. 2019, at the Berlin Hackathon, CosmWasm was born, and not like other members, Ethan wanted to make it grow for the main infrastructure, like smart contracting platform for Cosmos, when there was no support from the community or foundation yet, and that's how it started. Next page, please. So 2020 was the year we did a lot of first things. So in March, we did the first community call, bi-weekly call, to gather the feedback from the users and to share our technical updates and build up more CosmWasm dev. And in May, Terra became the first CosmWasm-enabled chain in May 2020. And you guys know the story, right? Like they went to the moon before they collapsed. This was actually my first business developer deal in Confio. And around this time, Interchain Foundation supported us so we could hire up more developers to build a foundation for more CosmWasm dev community. And from August this year, we started the DevRel activity with Orkun here. Orkun gave monthly dev workshop for developers. And I did the moderator, feedback survey, editing the video, spread the words basically. Next page, please. In 2021, in January time, I think, the Cosmos standard for blockchain interoperability, IBC, was finally launched. And right after, the IBC-enabled CosmWasm smart contracts implementation was done. So it opened up the multi-chain future. It was a very historical moment. And in continuation with our DevRel activity, we did the first Riddleton. It was Orkun's perfect idea. It's like hackathon, but lowering the barrier with more lucrative, entertaining aspect. So it's like you solve the riddles and you know more about the CosmWasm. And since this was a plan, the COVID center time, this was an online event, and first time we collaborated with other chains. And at the end of 2021, Osmosis community decided to integrate CosmWasm. And around this time, Ethan Fry started the CosmWasm for CTO series article, which got a lot of excellent feedback, and I believe that contributed to the mass adoption after. Next page, please. So yeah, 2022, actually 6 or 7 months, we were working on the beta version. And finally in May, CosmWasm 1.0 released. And the security audit was very successful. And in this year, actually inside and outside of Cosmos, CosmWasm adoption was done. And what I hear from these all like CosmWasm chains was that the common pain point was that people feel the lack of CosmWasm developers because every chain wants to have more DApp, more services on their chain, but that requires CosmWasm knowledge. So that's why we started the CosmWasm Academy initiative. I was the project manager and we offered the knowledge to build CosmWasm smart contracts over 500 people, over 5 cohorts. Next page, please. So 2023 started a bit sadly. We had a funding issue and we had to stop all the public goods development like CosmWasm and WasmD and CosmJS, etc. But luckily after 1 month, we could secure the funding. We resumed the conversation with ICF and we got the grant from Osmosis, NIM, and DoraHacks, and community funding from Hub and Terra2. But the whole process of getting the community funding was very stressful and painful, and yeah, the market situation made the whole promised funding just couldn't happen, and there were like attacks without the proper grounds, so we learned our lesson. But also exciting thing happened in 2023, which was CosmWasm and WasM. This was our first CosmWasm focused event, conference and hackathon. It happened 2 months ago, actually, in July in Berlin. And there were more than 300 people. We gathered up all the CosmWasm expertise in the ecosystem. And yeah, I was so proud that actually I could gather up people outside of Cosmos as well, like Near, Solana, and Stellar, the broader community of Wasm. And it was very successful. So the 9 months of preparing, organizing, planning, you know, from the ground up, raising sponsorship was very, very difficult because the market was frozen cold, right? And everybody was reducing the marketing budget. But the result was amazing. We nailed it. It was amazing. And, you know, even though we couldn't get the financial support from Interchain Foundation or the big CosmWasm users, I hope our results change their mind if we do the second version. And now we are working really hard to ship CosmWasm 2.0 with a better technical enhancement, both beneficial for both CosmWasm contract developers and chain developers. So please stay tuned. Next page, please. So yeah, 2024, these are our plans. So we're gonna continue working on the core libraries. That's our top priority. For example, CosmWasm STD, CW Multitest, CW Storage Plus, as well as CosmWasm VM and WasmD. But this year, we're gonna release 1.0 version of Sylvia framework, and Sylvia will be the library family member altogether. And Sylvia, for your information, is a framework to build a smart contracts with like high objective-like abstraction level. So it helps to generate CosmWasm like boilerplates, like messages and entry points. So yeah, from higher abstraction level. So that's what we're working on. We're gonna work on. And zero knowledge proof. ZK is very, very hot topic in blockchain, and we're gonna work hard to do the research so that we can make ZK proof utilities in CosmWasm and deliver the API for developers. And we're gonna put more focus on storage, CW Storage Plus, and we're gonna redesign it with a better key layout, and by keeping stored data like serialized binary instead of using JSON. And this means we can store more information with the same storage limit. And we're gonna improve the API for it. And OSZ and fee grant support, we want to support the fee grant protocol natively in CosmWasm. And message grant, message exec, message revoke, those will be the key members of CosmWasm as well. And we're gonna support fee grant function that allows contract interaction, and the fee will be paid by different addresses. So these are under review of ICF, and we're waiting for the approval so that we can ship all these in 2024. Next page, please. So yeah, this is the inside of CosmWasm adoption. So I told you there are more than 30 chains using CosmWasm in Cosmos ecosystem. And you know, you can see very steep graph on the left side. In 2022 was the year where a lot of adoption happened. And this year, until the first half of this year, I saw about like 11 chains launched with CosmWasm. And I know there are 3 or 4 under my radar coming up by the end of this year. So yeah, people keep building. And even though this bear market. And Numia data provide me this precious data a couple of days ago. So there are like, we couldn't get the whole data of CosmWasm chains, but at least we could see 13 CosmWasm chains and their TVL, which is about over 153 million US dollars, and Osmosis occupies a big part of it. Next, please. And yeah, so there are over 30 chains, whether you name it app chain or zone or L1 chain, like these are all independent sovereign chains with their specific use cases. And okay, so yeah, and DeFi is the most used use cases, and you can see the NFT and gaming and other use cases as well. And next page, please. And there are some corporates using CosmWasm for their chain. Like Comtus is a like top number 5 Korean gaming company, and they build Xpla gaming chain. And Line is a Japanese and Korean conglomerates, and they built Finsia NFT chain using CosmWasm. And Line is a big company, like the messenger app has more than 1 billion downloads, and it's top number 4 messenger in the world. And it's just exciting to see these big chains and big companies using CosmWasm. It's a big adoption. Next page, please. I'll be quick. So outside of Cosmos, we also see CosmWasm adoption. So Composable, they launched their mainnet last year on Polkadot using CosmWasm, bringing IBC there. And Landslide is doing the same thing on Avalanche, and it's in its testnet stage at the moment. Next, please. Yeah, and these are our plan at Cosmoverse. On Tuesday, we will talk about more deep level of CosmWasm roadmap, and we're gonna share our dev tool, like more information about the Sylvia. And also, there is Hackmos hackathon right after Cosmoverse, and the major tracks is by 2 CosmWasm chains, Neutron and OKP4, and we're gonna be mentoring there. So please come by. And the next page, please. So yeah, this is a fun part. So since I told you about what's CosmWasm, let's learn CosmWasm if you're technical. So actually, as of today, exactly 3 hours ago, we launched academy.cosmwasm.com. It's a new platform for Academy, so you can learn CosmWasm smart contract basic, multitest, and front end. So yeah, it's just, you can just sign up with an email. That's it. You can have access to all those courses. And next, so yeah, if you're not a developer, but if you want to talk about CosmWasm or any kind of partnership, please come reach out to me. This is me, my Telegram and Twitter, and thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much.